So I've had a whole lot of people messaging asking about the shooter that was on I-75 near London, Kentucky yesterday. I'm about an hour from London. It's about an hour north of me. I go there quite often. So this one definitely hits close to home, and I have a whole lot of friends and family that I'm concerned about at the moment. And from what I understand, London, Kentucky is pretty much on lockdown, and the suspect is still at large at the making of this video. When I sit down to make this video, they're still looking for the suspect. There's a manhunt going on right now to bring him in. Um, I'm not really going to get too far in the weeds with all of the information floating around out there, folks, because I honestly can't get a straight answer. There's so much misinformation floating around at the moment. I've saw different numbers, but from everything I've gathered, the most consistent number I've seen is that 5 people were seriously injured. I don't think there's been any casualties yet, but if there are, I'm just saying at the time I sat down to make the video, there weren't. We do know that this guy was able to go out and buy an AR-15. He was able to buy 2,000 rounds of ammunition, and he has made threats before, and yet he was able to buy the gun, buy the ammunition, and get up on an overpass and just fire at oncoming traffic and outgoing traffic. So that's what happens when you live in a world where you can't sit down and have a reasonable conversation about gun control. And until we can sit down and have a reasonable conversation and be adults about this and understand that in order to get something done, we're going to have to compromise, then unfortunately, this is the world we're going to have to continue to live in. And as Kamala Harris would say, it should not be this way. No one needs an AR-15. And I know what the critics are going to say. Oh, but we do, Brando. We need to be able to fight against a tyrannical government. That is a talking point that was fed to you by the gun lobbyist and by the NRA and by people, by right-wing politicians. You're no threat to them, by the way. You can go out there and you can hoard up all of the ammo you want to and all the weapons you want to. And if they ever get it in for you, you are absolutely no threat to them whatsoever. So get that out of your head. And if you're just dying to go target practice and show off yourself in front of somebody, fucking play Call of Duty, okay? Go play a video game and just sit down and shut up. Because no one needs one of these things. They are designed for someone who's not a good shot and knows, hey, I can just aim in any direction I want to aim and I'm bound to hit something. No one needs one. No one should have one. They absolutely should be banned. That's my opinion. And I know a whole lot of people disagrees with that. But this whole idea of you're supposed to be able to raise up against a tyrannical government, that's all a bullshit talking point anyway. You guys have no problem with the government being tyrannical. We've sat back and watched women's rights be stripped away like crazy, and we've not saw you guys move a muscle. So you don't care about a tyrannical government. When the government's in a woman's doctor's office, when it's in her personal life, you guys don't care. For the ones that shouts "Don't tread on me," as long as the government's treading on anyone that doesn't look or sound or isn't the same color as you, you don't have a problem with it. So this whole idea about the tyrannical government is bullshit. You guys are actually the ones bowing to the government. You guys are actually the ones that are causing us to have to live in this world because you can't be reasonable. Because the minute we say, hey, wait a minute, hold on. This guy here, you're telling me he was able to just go out and get this after making threats and he was able to just go get it? Someone should have been able to say something. There should have been something in place to where someone should have been able to say something and that guy should have been evaluated. But you know what everyone says? Can't do that. That steps on my constitutional rights. Folks, it is not really about that at the end of the day. What it's about is all of our lives, and it's about our children's lives and our loved ones' lives, and we should be able to go out into society. Children should be able to go to school and get the education they need, and people should be able to get to and from where they're going without fear of some moron doing these things. And until we come up with a more common sense approach to this, then this is the world we're going to be living in. And it does not have to be this way. It truly doesn't. When you have people who buys into a steady diet of Fox News and QAnon and conspiracy theories, and they think that their way of life is being come for and going to be taken from them, then all that does is sows unrest, and it just fuels the mentally ill. Anyone out there who is battling with mental illness, when they dive down into that rabbit hole and start listening to all that crap, it's just going to accelerate the mental illness further. And so I think it's time that we all just come together, put our politics aside, and start talking about how we're going to fix this situation. And to those of you on the right, understand that when we come up with common sense gun laws and regulations that should be put in place, that's not us coming after your Second Amendment right. That's us all taking responsibility, because we're all going to have to if we want to see progress. I'm a gun owner. I carry one myself. because of the crazy ass world that we live in. I think everyone out there should have a right to protect themselves. But I do not care to jump through a few extra hoops when I go to buy a new one. And I sure as hell don't need an AR-15. I don't need these weapons of war. I don't need a damn tank to drive back and forth to Walmart, okay? No one needs those things. And it's time that we pull our heads out of our asses and realize that it's going to take an adult conversation. Otherwise, we're just going to be living in this world. And I see so many people, making comments like, well, I have more ammo than that guy had. Well, then you are a paranoid idiot that is no threat to the government you think you can stand up to. You're not. And I really hate to be the one to burst that bubble, but it's just true. I know so many people in my part of the world that thinks they're stocking up for some kind of revolution and thinks they're going to be, you're not. You would be a mustard stain on your part of the world so fast you wouldn't know where to shit or wind your watch. So come down off that. Quit watching all these ridiculous movies and thinking that you're Daryl Dixon. Okay, you're not. This isn't The Walking Dead just yet, and you're not going to go out there with your bow and arrow and shoot a bunch of zombies. Okay, quit thinking that it's real, because it's not. The real world is the world we're living in. The real world is one right now where people are going, what are we going to do next? Well, we're going to have the hard conversation, and we're going to have to compromise. And that means both sides of the aisle has to compromise. That means we both have to sit down and come up with ways that we can prevent this from happening. And we need to start educating people on what these firearms do. And I think that's one of the ways we start, is just simply educating people on what has happened. A friend of mine made a really good point. He said, back in the day, the way that we raised awareness on the dangers of cigarettes is we just started educating people on what cigarettes do. There used to be a time that you could go to the store and candy cigarettes was popular. They're not as popular these days because we educated people. And we're going to start educating people on guns and on the violence that's going on out there in the world, and realize that, what? People don't need these weapons. This is a right-wing talking point that they've bought into that's absolute bullshit. And they think anything I'm sitting here saying, they think I'm against the guns. I'm not. And all the things they're saying about, guns don't kill people, people kill people. Well, Trump's standing behind bulletproof glass talking, and so is J.D. Vance. And no, the gun ain't doing it, but people are doing it. That's why they have to put up the bulletproof glass. So I'm not against you having a Second Amendment right, and I realize the gun itself ain't doing it. I realize it's people doing it, and so we're going to have to make it harder for people to do it. And you guys are going to have to get out of your fields and quit reading every NRA pamphlet you get sent in the mail, and realize that we all are going to have to put in the work to make this a better world, because it's not going to magically happen. And more guns and you running out and buying more rounds of ammo ain't solving a damn thing. It's just fanning the flames. And I hate to end on this note, but that blood's going to be on your hands. So try your best to get it together.